Okay, today we're going to learn how to create the 5 number summary of a data set. The 5 number summary is basically just like a bunch of medians. So those middle numbers. What the 5 number summary does is it splits that data into 5 pieces. Okay, so we are splitting them into quartiles. Quartiles, that root word of quartile is core, which means four, just like quarter. There's 4 quarters in a dollar, 4 quarters in a football game. Um, we're splitting it into fourths. Okay. And I'm going to show you what that looks like down here on this example. Now, the reason why there are 5 numbers is because it's including the minimum value, so the smallest value, and the larger value. So the minimum value, we call that the minimum value. That's the smallest number in the data set. Sorry, my pen broke, so I'm having to use my fingers, so I cannot write super small. So we've got our smallest value, our min. Okay, then we've got our largest value. We call this the max because it's the maximum value. It is the largest number in the data set. So this is our max. Okay, then we've got 3 other numbers. Now we know like when we put fourths on a number line, we only put 3 tick marks. If we're splitting a box into fourth, we only draw 3 lines dividing it. So that is why if we're cutting our data into 4 equal parts, we are only cutting it 1, 2, 3 times. That way we have 4 equal pieces of data. Okay. The first quartile, well, we're actually going to start with number 4 because that one makes the most sense. You already know how to do that. That's the second quartile. We call that Q2. That's the middle of the entire data set. So that's the median. So first you have to find the Q2. So you've got to split this data perfectly in half into an upper half, meaning the larger numbers, and a lower half. Now remember, these numbers have to be least to greatest when we're doing a median. These ones already are, but they have to be least to greatest. That way we have that upper half and that lower half. Remember, if they do not split evenly, you would just add them together and divide by 2 to see what that median would be. We'll do some examples of when there's 1 number in the middle and 2 numbers in the middle. Okay, for that first quartile, then we look at our lower half. So the first quartile, we call that Q1. That's the middle of the lower half of the data. So it goes Q1, Q2, and then our third quartile, which we call Q3, is the middle of the upper half. So basically, once we find that median right here, we then cross off and find our median here. And the reason why we got 23 is because we added 20 plus 26 together and divided by 2 to get 23. Same thing with our Q3. Crossed off until we got 2 numbers in the middle, and then we had to add them together and divide by 2. When we're doing that, what you're going to notice when you add 2 numbers together and divide by 2, you're just finding the middle of those 2 numbers. So if it's 33 and 35, when we add those together and divide by 2, we're just finding the middle of those, which is going to be 34. Same thing here. The middle of 20 and 26 is 23. So if you don't need to add them together and divide by 2, you already can tell visually what the middle of those numbers are. You can just do that as well. All right, let's do some examples. Now, remember, because on your homework today, it's not already going to be least to greatest first, so you must do that first. Now, for the sake of this lesson, I already put them least to greatest for us so that we don't have to spend time renumbering them. But just keep that in mind for your homework. I did not do that. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so our minimum value, our smallest value for this first list is 5. Our max is 35. So we've already got 2 of our numbers of our 5-number summary done. Then we go down to our Q2. That's our median. So we're going to cross off. I'm going to use a highlighter here so we can still see it as we're crossing them off. 1, 1. Oh, it's way too big though. Dang. 2, 2, 3, 3, and we're left with two numbers in the middle, a 15 and a 20. Okay, when we're left with two numbers in the middle, we add them together and divide by 2. So we do 15 plus 20 divided by 2 into our calculator. 35 divided by 2, which is 17.5. Now, when we have two numbers in the middle, the smaller one goes in our smaller half of our data. So we make our smaller group with that smaller number, and we make our larger group with that larger number. I like to put parentheses around those groups. That way it like visually separates them for me. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. That's just what I like to do. Then we go again and we find the median of those numbers. So we've got a 10 and a 15 together over here. So we'd add 10 plus 15 is 25. Divided by 2 is 12.5. Again, you can be doing all this in your calculator. You do not have to do this by yourself. Then we do the same thing for Q3 for the upper half. So cross off, cross off. We've got 25 and 30 in the middle. 25 plus 30 is 55. Divided by 2, 27.5. And that's our 5-number summary. So that's what cuts our data into 4 equal pieces, including our min and our max. The reason why we're learning this is because eventually we're going to make a graph that uses these numbers. So this is just kind of the first step to making that graph. All right, let's do one more. Min 5, max 35. Cross them off from each side. My highlighter was too thick, so I'm just going to like put little marks on top of them. That way you can still see the number. This is another way that you could do it if you only have like a pencil without crossing off the number, because you still need the numbers for later. Make sure you're going 1 from each side until you get to the middle. When you get to the middle, make sure you've got like 4 on this side, 4 on this side. So this time we have just a 20 right in the middle. So our Q2 is 20. Now we split that into the lower half and upper half. When we have one number in the middle, we exclude that number from our lower group and from our upper group. It just stays in the middle because we can't put it into 2 different groups, and we can't make one group have more numbers than the other group. So it just stays in the middle. Now again, we cross off till we get to the middle. We're going to have 10 plus 15 is 25 divided by 2, 12.5. Then we'll find our Q3, cross off till we get to the middle. 30 plus 25 is 55 divided by 2, 27.5. Okay, so that's how we find a 5-number summary of a data set when we have 2 numbers from the median and 1 number for the median. Last skill I'm going to teach you today is the interquartile range. So we know the range of a data set is the difference between the max and the min. We subtract our biggest number from our smaller number. So the quartile range, which makes sense, we would find the difference between our largest quartile, which is Q3, and our smallest quartile, which is Q1. So first thing we would do is list our data least to greatest, find the Q3, find the Q1, and then you subtract Q3 minus Q1. Now, for most questions, I'm never going to ask you like for the IQR or the interquartile range if I haven't already made you find those quartiles. So you're already going to like have these numbers. So these are the examples from the front page. So we can just copy our Q1 and Q3. For the first example, Q1 was 12.5, Q3 was 27.5. So 12.5, 27.5. Remember, we do get a calculator for this. So when we do 27.5 minus 12.5, you can do that on a calculator, but you are going to get 15 for our interquartile range. So it's our biggest quartile minus our smallest quartile. Same thing for the other one. They ended up being the same numbers. Q1 and Q3 were both 12.5 and 27.5. So our IQR would be 15 again. Okay. I want to show you how to use the dot plot. We're going to kind of cruise through this because I want you to have plenty of time to work on your homework today because this skill does take a while. But you can make a data list from a dot plot, and I want to show you how to do that real quick. So the dot plot shows the top speeds of 12 sports cars. Find and interpret the interquartile range of the data. Okay, so we're going to first have to list the data least to greatest. So we're looking for everywhere there's a dot. So this would be 220 is our smallest value, so that's our min. Then we'd have two 230s. So in our list, when we're making that data, we'd have to put two 230s. Notice how we don't have a 225, so we don't put that in our list. We don't have a 235, so we don't put that in our list. Then we have two 240s. Then we've got one 245, three 250s, two 260s, and then one 270. When I pull data from a dot plot like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and count. It says that we should have 12 data points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So because we can make a lot of human error here when we're making our list, what I would like us to do is to go back and to count to make sure we have 12 numbers in our list. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I only had 11, that means I'm missing something, or if I had 13, I made a mistake. Sorry, that's just one way that we can make sure that we're doing things right. Max then would be 270. Okay, we'd go through, we'd find our median, so crossing off, one from the smallest, one from the biggest, till we get to the middle. Right now I've got 4 on each side, so I'm good. 5, 5, 2 numbers in the middle. So on my calculator, I would add together 245 plus 250 divided by 2. That was not right. 245 plus 250 divided by 2. 247.5. That's our Q2 because that's our middle. Then we make a smaller group with the 245 and a larger group that includes the 250. That way I have the same number in each group. Then I cross off 1, 1, 2, 2. I'm left with 2 numbers in the middle. 230 plus 240 divided by 2, 235. Do the same thing with my top group. 1, 1, 2, 2. I've got 2 numbers in the middle. Now I'm not going to add them together because I know the middle of 250 and 260 is 255. But you could add them together, divide by 2. You're going to get 255 as well. All right, last thing, we're finding the IQR. So we're doing Q3 minus Q1. Quartile 3 is 255 minus 235, which would be equal to 20. So that is how we find the 5-number summary as well as the IQR or interquartile range of a data set. Like I said, we will be applying this to a graph that we will learn how to graph in our next lesson.